Well, with the start of a new year comes a pay bump for minimum wage workers. New York's minimum wage in upstate is now $14.20 per hour. As 13 Wham's Carla Rogner reports, it brings the state closer to its goal of a statewide minimum wage of $15 an hour. Carla, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Matt. The state has been increasing minimum wage rates each year since 2016, with that eventual goal to phase in a $15 an hour rate. As some workers celebrate this news, some business owners say paying their workers minimum wage is a thing of the past.
John Albert has gotten used to New York State's annual minimum wage hikes, but this year his focus has turned to just getting new employees in the door.
We need to pay more than that right now to attract any sort of employees.
Because of the labor shortage, he's gotten creative.
I am leaving for a delivery.
Raising wages and bringing in this robot named Rosie to fill in the gaps.
We purchased a robot, and the robot helps the servers provide better service to our customer base. And that was a direct result of our inability to staff.
Though Albert stopped paying his entry-level workers minimum wage last year, the rate increase will have him playing catch-up so he can continue to offer competitive pay.
It just pushes everything up. The whole market goes up.
What happened pre-pandemic is a lot of people who had very few choices now have choices and are basically saying that, you know what, I'm not just going to accept any job that comes my way. I'm going to wait for higher wages.
Experts say this minimum wage hike is going to be especially felt by small business owners who were barely getting by paying their employees minimum wage and now have to fork out an extra $1 an hour.
Basic economic theory tells us that you generally don't have a win-win situation throughout in these kinds of circumstances, because just as it helps workers, somebody's going to have to pay those higher minimum wages. So small businesses, small establishments who are already also being buffeted by headwinds stemming from the fact that they're facing labor shortages, they're having to deal with supply chain disruptions.
He doesn't expect these increased costs to be passed down to the consumer just yet.
And that professor I spoke with predicts minimum wage increase will continue to rise, but maybe at a more gradual level than what we've seen these last few years. The $14.20 minimum wage rate is in effect through the end of this year, and it's unclear what the rate increase could look like for 2024.
Giving drivers in Monroe County up to 28 cents a gallon during the height of inflation, especially over the summer. 13 Wham Cheyenne Walker breaking down how this could cost you the next time you pull into the gas station. Cheyenne, a lot of people hoping not to have to pay more at the pump, but it may happen with the end of this gas tax holiday.
Yes, Matt, AAA says drivers are paying less for gas now than back in June. However, with the expiration, that tax break is now over. Adam Scheffler owns a felt company where he says he has to drive long distances to ship his product, and he fears the end of the gas tax suspension could cost him.
Because we have to travel to get materials, or we have to go back and forth, or actually make deliveries around the city when we have local orders, actually the discount helped us because of that when such heavy travel.
But maybe not that much. According to AAA, New York has an average of $3.43 per gallon, which is $1.50 less than what prices were at the beginning of the summer. But now drivers can expect to pay more.
In Monroe County, they made a baseline of $2 a gallon, so about 8 cents of tax. And that, with prices in the range of $3.50, I would estimate somewhere an additional 5 or 6 cents tax. But again, it depends on where you're going and how much you're paying for gas.
However, with inflation affecting other prices like food and necessities, every cent matters.
With the holidays personally, having to travel to different family members' places. All of my family lives outside of the city, so making the rounds during the holiday season is a little tough. The discount helps a little bit.
Right now, financially, everybody's struggling with the inflation that's going on, so I think it's just going to be a tough time period for all of us.
With gas prices expected to rise, Mark Gruba with AAA says there are multiple things you can do to save on gas.
Combine your errands, so you're doing more things at once. Map your route out, so you're going the shortest distance. Avoid rush hour, so you're less stop and go as you're out and about running your errands.
And Governor Hochul was asked Friday about extending the tax suspension. However, she says the taxes go towards critical infrastructure and revenue needs to start coming in again.
Dressed all in white, Governor Kathy Hochul was welcomed by applause in Albany, the state's first woman governor.
So my prayer is that Almighty God will anoint you, Governor.
A slew of Democrats taking the oath of office ahead of Hochul in a New Year's Day mega ceremony.
What a privilege. What a privilege to swear you in again.
Tom DiNapoli, New York's second longest serving state controller of more than 15 years, stepping into another term. Letitia James sworn in a second time as Attorney General. And Schenectady native Antonio Delgado declaring how he'll serve after the people elected him to become the state's lieutenant governor, his first full term.
I understand what the process needs. It needs love. This is my commitment to all of you, to do the work. And how fortunate am I to be able to do it, this incredible work, alongside the first woman to sit in the state's highest office.
Governor Hochul raised her right hand in front of New York's NAACP president, Dr. Hazel Dukes, who was chosen by Hochul to administer the oath of office.
I, Kathy Hochul.
Hochul, the state's 57th governor, noted the significance of this historic moment as she officially became the first woman governor elected by the people. She had already made history as the state's first woman governor in 2021 after the resignation of Andrew Cuomo, this marking the beginning of her first full term.
New York women have been the trailblazers for the rest of our nation.
The historic ceremony was live streamed so that New Yorkers could watch it from near and far. Hochul did not name policy specifics, but she did name affordability, gun violence, and the lingering effects of COVID as priorities for 2023.
We must and will make our state safer.
Hochul ending her remarks acknowledging New York's drastic population loss over the last year and looking toward the future.
We must reverse the trend of people leaving our state.